Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Got another 2025 rookie stock report show for you here today. Going to be joined by Jason DiRienzo, my podcast co-host, and we're going to discuss 8 players today. 4 players who are rising up our draft boards and 4 players that are falling. Now, we've been watching the All 22 film on all of these players, which gives you a great look, and really there's no better way to scout players than watching the All 22 film. If you want access to the films that we discussed on this video, consider becoming an NFL Draft Big Board subscriber. It's super cheap. It's $25 a year, and you'll have access to these all 22 film breakdowns on all your 2025 rookies. If you, help me also, I have a small goal of getting to 15,000 subscribers by the NFL Draft. Hit that subscribe button, help me get there. So love putting these shows together for you guys. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the show. All right, Jason, let's move on to our 2025 draft rookie stock report this week. You know, one game of the college football playoffs, and here we are at the cusp of really getting into the 2025 NFL draft scouting season. And for you and I, we've been here for quite some time, but we're getting close for the mainstream media to get involved. So let's get, man, time for a stock report. I'm going to kick us off here with our first stock up player I want to talk about. I want to talk about Treyvon Henderson. That game this weekend was phenomenal. The kid has stayed healthy all year. And I'm going to tell you, man, he is my stock up player. He's my RB2 right now in the class. And the reason I'm going to tell you, I've watched a ton of Amai Hampton, Caleb Johnson. We're going to talk about a little bit as well. I didn't tell you yet, but next week we're going to be doing Treyvon Henderson all 22 film reviews. That is going to be who we're going to take a look at. So I've cut up a couple films and I'm liking what I'm seeing. And I think the reason I got him at my RB2 past Genty is because of the explosiveness that he brings when he gets the ball in his hands and his receiving ability. And that game I thought was a fantastic showcase. You got other players, other backs, the Johnson, who we just did an all 22 film review. We're going to talk about him in a little bit. And Amai Hampton, explosive players, but different kinds of players. Treyvon Henderson to me has that, he's got that good size where he's not too big and he's got the ability to laterally move and he's explosive. So he's rising up my boards, man, early in this scouting season. And I'm liking what I'm seeing. So Treyvon Henderson is my first stock up player.
Yeah, fantastic game. I mean, I posted the same thing as soon as that game was over. Actually, I think it was into the fourth quarter. I'm like, dude, his stock's got to rise. Like, that was a phenomenal performance. And I felt the same way about Amai Okafor, who's going to be my top riser here. Really, this year, he's shown a lot to me that I was waiting on. I like the physicality I'm seeing. I like the twitchiness. His ability to get open for his quarterback, even when the route kind of breaks down, he still stays live and tries to find a way to get himself open. And you see the twitchiness, the speed. I love everything that Amai Okafor has done this season to elevate his draft stock, and it's well deserved. It'll be interesting to see where he lands in my ranks once we do all these all 22 breakdowns, but he's definitely a riser.
Yeah, he's going to be that great slot receiver. He's got the physicality to withstand an NFL. He's just going to be one of those good possession slot receivers that I think is going to be, I think he's not a wide receiver 1 for an NFL franchise, but I think he would be a solid wide receiver 2, kind of like Jordan Addison is to, Jefferson. Some may argue that Addison is the wide receiver 1, but I think, what Addison brings to that slot for the Minnesota Vikings, I can see Okafor kind of doing that for franchise if he gets drafted with a wide receiver 1. So the second stock up player, I'm going to go a little deep on this one. Just a fan favorite of mine. I just put out not an all 22, but a film review on TCU senior wide receiver Jack Bech. Now, you may remember Jack Bech kind of played a quasi tight end position at LSU his freshman and sophomore season. As a junior, he transferred to TCU. Didn't really do much last year, so he's one of these late breakouts, which has people maybe a little concerned. But this dude had 62 receptions at over 1,000 yards, 9 TDs, averaging 16.7 yards a catch this year. Like I said, I just put out a film on his YouTube channel kind of breaking down his film. But man, this guy is a big possession type receiver. He is not going to beat you with, explosion in speed and that type of thing. But I think he's a little underrated. Again, he's going to be just around my round 9 or 10 right now in my ranks. I think he's probably a day 3 guy right now. An early day 3 guy might sneak into round 3. But man, I like what, again, looking at this wide receiver class, it's not the deepest class, but if there's a franchise out there that is looking for a, just a tough physical. He reminds me of Puka Nacua as far as like size, and I'm not comparing him that he's going to turn into that. So don't go
I know what you're
nutso
saying.
on me. But
Yeah.
a guy that just doesn't, you think of Puka Nacua and you don't think of somebody. He doesn't have the great speed or whatever, but he's got the tactician ability to get open with that tough, physical, solid hands. This guy has great hands. He had a 70%
Yeah, he
catch
does.
percentage this year. I don't know if you saw the film on the YouTube channel here, but go take a look at it if you're watching this or listening to the here on the podcast. But Jack Bech is going to be a guy that I'm going to be targeting in my rookie drafts, probably like in the 3rd round. But again, some diamond. He's like maybe a diamond in the rough to keep your eye on. Jack Bech, TCU wide receiver.
Yeah, I think it's a great call. Bech was awesome for me in college fantasy football, so I had to take a look at him, and I came away impressed too. I think most are just gonna see that TCU logo and be like, "Ah." I
I'm
think at
out.
some point we got to get
I'm
over that,
out.
though.
Yeah,
Right? I'm out.
exactly.
But we'll see how it goes. My next guy is going to be Jake Brenningschool, Clemson tight end. Stat line's not going to show it from this past game, but I really like what I've seen from him this season. He's getting overshadowed a bit by Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore and Antonio Williams, some of those great receivers that Clemson has, and it's awesome to be able to say that again. But I think Brenningschool brings to the table what a tight end could do at the next level. That could just be a very serviceable guy, spot start type. As he continues to develop, but I love the ball skills. I think he's got good, strong hands. I think the athleticism is pretty good for, what we have seen of him. And I think he could actually get a lot better on a team in the NFL that knows how to maximize his skill set. So Jake Brenningschool to me is an underrated tight end, and he's a riser for me.
Yeah, and with all these tight ends in this draft and in this game that we love, landing spot makes such a difference. So, let's
So
hope.
much of a
Yes.
difference. Yes.
So, I mean, because opportunity is going to be a lot, right? So, but I agree with you. I think he's an underrated tight end, coming out of Clemson. I love that call, and he's been really productive for the most of the season. So there you guys got,
Yeah.
there are our 4 stock up players this week on our stock report. Now we got to talk about some stock down players. And I got one I'm going to kick us off here. And I think a lot of people are going to be a little, being like, oh, come on, man. You're the Debbie Reaper, they call me on my big boards Slack chat or anything. But I'm going to go with Caleb Johnson right now. You and I just broke down 3 all 22 films. Well, 2, but we watched 3, but we broke down 2 of them. His game against Northwestern and Maryland. And, what I look for when I watch these films are wow moments, right? Big physical back. He had 1,500 yards, 21 TDs, really productive. We saw 3 touchdowns just against Northwestern on that all 22 film. And he had guys bouncing all over him, going towards the end zone on those 3 plays. So the tackling was just absolutely horrendous. So he's got that body control. He's got that contact balance, big lower half average, 6.4 yards a tote. But, this was the first year that we got real production out of Johnson. And I guess I came away just a little, where he's being valued right now. And again, I'm not saying he's not going to be a solid day 2 selection. All right. I don't see him as a day 1 guy, a day 2 guy, possibly. But I'll tell you, you really got to watch the all 22 film. You can't just watch the highlights. And if you watch play in and play out of how he navigates the line of scrimmage, his pad level, his ability with lateral movements and his vision at the line of scrimmage, I came away underwhelmed. And I'm going to trust my eye. And I'm just not going to go with consensus that, oh, he's the top 2 or 3 back in this class. I mean, that was an eye-opening kind of, I said when I sent you those first 2 all 22 films, I had a 3rd one. I said, well, I got to watch the 3rd one now because the first 2 I came away
I saw your message.
unimpressed. And I was like, I got to watch another one. Maybe these were just 2 bad games. And the 3rd one kind of validated what I saw. So look, is he a still top 5 back for me? Yes. But, Treyvon Henderson, who I just spoke about, is my RB2 right now. So I don't know. Caleb Johnson, he's a faller for me personally. And I encourage you, if you're not a big board subscriber and you want to watch those all 22 films that Jason and I broke down, check out on the show sheet or, on the YouTube, in the section here, you can check us out and get in touch with us. But I know I just didn't see a lot of creativity with his game. And that's what the NFL is looking for. Yeah, we like our big physical backs, but you got to have some ability to really break off some big runs. And he did, but just is not the way I'd like to see them done.
Right. And that makes total sense. Based on the All-22 film we watched together, I can totally understand where you're coming from. And that's what the encouragement. Go check out the film on the on the website and make your own decision. I think that's
Mhm.
why we do this, right? So it's a lot of fun. My first guy is going to be low-hanging fruit for me, and that's going to be Curtis Rourke, the quarterback. And honestly, it's tough, man. I mean, he had a great season. He's a fifth year starter, so you expect a little bit coming from him. I watched a lot of Elijah Surratt, who I really like, and I think Elijah Surratt actually helped Curtis Rourke a lot this season. But Rourke makes a lot of good throws, but I think that between the ears and what he sees on the field, I think he can get a little bit overwhelmed when things kind of break down, don't go his way. His first read isn't there. He stares down his receiver. So I think a lot of things got exposed during the playoffs and toward the end of the season. And for that, Curtis Rourke is definitely a stock down.
Yeah, I mean, we were hoping that during that Ohio State game, we saw something a little special, and
Well, at least,
at
but
least
it did
we
not
just
happen.
did not see it. Second guy I want to
No.
talk about is another running back in this class, obviously, and that's Taj Brooks from Texas Tech. Okay, I just put out again a scouting film on the YouTube channel. Um, And again, I just see a player who's a really big physical player, 1,500 yards, 17 TDs, 5.3. And I put out my top running back show. I put out my top 20 or top 40 rookies. And the number one comment I got on the YouTube channel, anytime I talk about running backs, is I'm too low on Taj Brooks. So what do? I go in, I took a whole game film. I think I watched like 27, 28 plays. I love to cut up films of just players like one game and watch every play, not just the highlights. I think most people probably just
Right.
watch the highlights on YouTube, but that's not really the way you want to scout players. And I came away, look, he's a big physical, one cut up front, get uphill. I think he's a good gap runner, north and south, works in between the tackles primarily, isn't going to win on the outside. I think his acceleration is just average and don't see a lot of pop in his long speed. So I'm wondering where is he going to fit on an NFL offense? And I just, think he's going to be a backup guy. I think he's going to be like Roshan Johnson going to your beloved Chicago Bears. I think he's,
Mhm.
a big back who is, flashed in college, did great. So I think I'm, just somebody I'm not as high on Taj Brooks as other people might be.
Yeah, and I completely look, I like Taj Brooks, I like Phil Mafah, they remind me of each other, and I
Yeah,
don't think that they're starters at the next level. I just think that they're really good college backs, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all, but the
right.
transition to the next level is definitely gonna be a difficult ride for him. I completely agree with you. My guy, and this is gonna be tough, but if you watch this past weekend against Georgia, or I'm sorry, not against Georgia, against Ohio State, Dylan Sampson had a tough time in that. Look, he's a physical runner from what I've seen over the course of the season. So I'm not going to use this one game, but when asked to be the guy, it all broke down for him and he got exposed. And that Nico does not get a lot of respect. I think he's got a lot of learning to do. And so when you force Nico or when you don't respect Nico, when you just need to stop Dylan Sampson, then you can do that. There's not much Tennessee could do, and that's exactly what happened. So Dylan Sampson, to me, will fit this today's NFL as a role player side by side with another bigger back, kind of like Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. But to say that he could be a primary back and to be a number one, I don't think that we're there, and I think we saw that. Could be the same thing that's happened with Jalen Wright, just really trying to come on based on the type of scheme and offensive system that Tennessee runs. It could take him a minute to come on. So Dylan Sampson, I think for where we were getting excited about him being ranked, we got to temper our expectations and realize that maybe he shouldn't be ranked as high as we have him.
Yeah, well, don't forget, Jason, you and we did all 22 film breakdowns on him as well, right? And
We
we
did.
already put
Right.
out our rookie profile show on him a few weeks back, and we came to that conclusion, I think,
We did.
that,
Yes.
he was kind of soft at the contact point. He just isn't, and again, he's a productive back. So that productivity
For
doesn't
sure.
necessarily mean you're going to be an NFL. I mean, the jump from college to the NFL is just monstrous. And, you and I came away concerned about his play strength and his ability at the contact point. He was like one of those guys that turned all the time, twisted at contact. So I like the call. I think, again, he's just somebody that you and I, after watching the all 22 films, is somebody that, again, it's probably going to get, I think he's a day 3 guy. I don't think he makes it to day 2. So I respect that call a lot.
So we'll see how it all pans out, but that was one that really stood out to me with this past weekend.
Yeah. So there you go. There's our 2025 stock report for the week of Christmas. So, There we go.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays to everybody.